Let's quickly recap how Arctic hell is going to descend in New York City. Now, just a disclaimer, I don't actually live in a city. I live in a suburb in Oyster Bay, close to Farmingdale, and I use my own weather data, not New York City. But the story is generally going to be the same. So right now, it's like where I live, it's 37 degrees, and it feels like 31. This is just close to the high. It hit borderline 40 today. We're definitely feeling a little bit more winter-like. It's kind of like how that streak of days was in mid to late December before that giant coastal storm. It was actually calm, and that kind of weather we're starting to get back now. A bit below average, but nothing worth complaining over. But this lack of complaining weather will stop quickly. Temperatures will hit 32 degrees at midnight. This will be the ultimate freeze. Wind chills will already have descended to 22 degrees. Typically during Arctic fronts, it could be above freezing and still have frigid wind chills. Like on January 14th, 2021, for example, we saw the wind chill be 18 degrees when it froze. On December 23rd, the wind chill was about 19 degrees when it froze. 22 is kind of on par, and that means there's going to be a lot of wind. I didn't actually look up how much wind is going to be, but it's going to be fast and blustery. Ultimately, the wind chill temperatures are going to be what's more important. Temperatures will hold steady in the 30s, with wind chills holding steady in the 20s until about 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday. But by daybreak, temperatures will have begun to descend down through the 20s. It'll probably be the low 20s at this point. This is when the most of the Arctic air is going to be coming down at one shot. It's going to feel like 9 degrees. When stuff gets released in the afternoon, like when school's let out, when work lets out, it's going to be, probably in the upper teens. Wind chills hovering around 0 degrees. It's going to be getting worse as time goes on. Honestly, I was thinking about doing a cold weather chase. I might have to do it before my clarinet lesson, which is at 2:45. It's going to be difficult. I'll have to cram it in. But that's like the only time it's even going to be safe to do it. If I go run in and get my magnet that has a thermometer on it and do it then. After, I just think it's going to be too dangerous to do this kind of cold weather chase. I definitely will not be putting anything out Saturday morning about my chase because it's just going to be too cold. With these fast winds. I mean, I know I walked outside once in a storm. I actually chased a blizzard once, and I forgot to put it on YouTube. But, this is just, too extreme. I'm just starting to get into chasing bad weather. I really cannot be doing too much dangerous stuff right now. I'm only in a novice state. Right now, I'm barely chasing any cold weather. The wind chills are just below freezing, but they're only getting worse. It's going to get worse tonight, but it's mainly going to be tomorrow morning when you start to actually feel the brutally Arctic air begins to surge in. When the night finishes off, temperatures would have already slid down to about, I would say about 9 or 8 degrees, maybe even a little bit lower. Wind chills by this point will have sunk to negative 9 degrees. It'll get even worse on Saturday morning. Wind chills will descend down to negative 13 degrees, but the air temperature is only going to be 5 degrees at its coldest. That's not enough to break a record. Hate to break it to you. We will not be breaking any records for this kind of cold. The winds have to shift substantially more from the northwest to the north. When it looked like we were going to actually hit 0 degrees and tie the record, that was when the winds were, again, looking more in a northerly wind than a northwesterly wind. Anyone who thinks that we're going to get our coldest air since 1943 is a fool. We are not getting down to negative 3 degrees. The winds are just shifting too far in the northwest. And while this will produce in parts of northern Maine historically cold wind chills, we saw some record wind chills in December. We're going to see record wind chills again in parts of Maine. I mean, Mount Washington, the top is going to have negative 100 wind chills and be in the stratosphere because that's how low the stratosphere is descending. If you think about it, ground temperatures in the 60s, which they are in the 60s, I'll tell you that much, and where you hit the stratopause, where at that point, in, the negative 40 degree temperature about, it's coming down a lot lower over Mount Washington. So at just a mile in height, it's going to be like in the tropopause, bordering on a stratosphere. That means historic cold is coming down, and it won't just stop just because you're south of New Hampshire. It will be coming down to the New York area as well. And you need to be prepared because 5 degrees with a wind chill of 13 is nothing to joke about. Skies will be clear. And after this visit from Arctic hell, temperatures will rise throughout the day. In the afternoon, it'll be a somewhat bearable low 20s outside. But what you got to understand is that the wind chills are still going to be struggling and it's still going to be in the single digits, although the upper single digits at that point. When the day closes, you have an air temperature of 25 degrees and a wind chill of 14. The warmest it's going to be all day. After that, it's going to cloud up on Sunday, but warm air is going to come down. We don't know if we're going to see rain, ice, snow. I don't think we're going to see any of that stuff here. But temperatures will jump back up into the mid-40s with about 44 degrees with a wind chill temperature hovering around 37 degrees. So we'll start to see more bearable conditions as early as Sunday before temperatures look to be exceedingly above average into the next week. New York City saw its first snowfall of the year, but if that really were to be the Great Blizzard of 2023, it'll be very sad. The Great Blizzard of 2022, for example, was that cyclone that delivered anywhere between 8 and 24 inches of snow on the metro area in late January. Great Blizzard of 2021, while it wasn't officially a blizzard, it still dumped a consistent 15 inches of snow across the metro area in early February. Great Blizzard of 2020, not officially a blizzard again, but it still came in and it still, dumped about 10 inches of snow in late December. Notice how it was in December. Yes, there wasn't really a big storm in the winter of 2019-20, but there were in the years before. Actually, 2019 didn't really have any of that historic snow, although that March 3rd to 4th storm of 5 inches was definitely a little bit annoying. 2018, multiple really bad winter storms plowed through that over the course of the year. January, March, April saw quite a bit of snow. November, it was really bad. And honestly, I'm starting to miss that, where we could just pin it down as the Great Blizzard. But we might not have the opportunity in 2023. And while it would be sad if amounts ranging from 1/5 to 2/5 of an inch qualifies as a Great Blizzard, we run that possibility. But it does look like it's going to be a cold and stormy late February into March, so we will see what the end of winter brings us. If there's something that we learn, well, we might not have experienced the last 3 winters, this period can be quite snowy, and even deeper into March and into shallow April can still see their fair share of storms. Wouldn't it be weird to have more snow in April than in January? It's happened before. I mean, in 1915, April became the snowiest month of the year, and it can happen again. Thank you for watching this video. This cold is going to be of life-threatening variety. We have not seen this kind of cold in the area in 4 years, and depending on how the forecast goes, it could be our coldest in 7 years, 22 years, 80 years, but that's unlikely. We must take the most extreme precautions available to protect us. Obviously, as you go throughout different parts of the metro, it's going to be a different story. Maybe we'll get spared and it'll be just like another Christmas Eve, which was admittedly extremely annoying, but bearable. We'll have to see. But unlike last time, the Floridians won't be suffering. Instead of them experiencing high temperatures in the upper 40s, even in the Miami area, it will still be their warm, tropical, usual Floridian selves.